Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to another episode of my Consecutive Criterions, where I look at little runs of consecutive spine numbers that I have in the Criterion collection. These runs have to be 3 or more, because doing 2 would be a bit daft. And as I am not Criterion complete, I can't do runs of 1250 or whatever Criterion's at nowadays. So we're going to talk about, briefly, spine numbers 840, 841 and 842. This is 2 films in a box set, but as usual with Criterion, there's not really any consistency. Some box sets, as with the Jacques Demy box set that I showed in the last episode, there's a number for the box set and then a number for the individual films. This box set just has a number for the entire box set, just to confuse people who like things consistent in the same way every time. So the first one, when people do their inevitable what you should pick up in the Barnes & Noble sale, which perhaps fortunately I can't take part in as I'm not in the US, there's lots of films that are mentioned, and it's the same kinds of films, but there's lots of films in the Criterion collection that never get mentioned as, you should pick this up. And this is probably one of them. So this is from Spain, from 1963, and it's The Executioner. I got this fairly cheaply on Amazon, on eBay. As you can see, there's a bit of damage on the cover. This is a Region A. It's 93 minutes long, and this is a film by Luis Garcia Berlanga, and this is one of the more famous Spanish films of the 60s. It was banned for a while. So this is a black comedy, as you may guess by the cover. It's it's not really a satire, it's a almost attack on the Franco era. And it's a lovely little film about an undertaker who marries into the family of the state executioner, and then he becomes the executioner himself. So as you can tell, it's hilarious, and it's a subject matter that is always up for comedy. That is executing people. It's obviously a critique on capital punishment as well, state control, fascism, the whole gamut, all served in a wonderful black and white cinematography, and lovely black comedy, very much like the Italian comedies, which are mixed with tragedy most of the time. It can be quite frenetic, with lots of people shouting at each other at the same time. Very much like the screwball tradition, and obviously the comedy Italian style tradition. So this has a lot of that as well. It's a 4K digital transfer. There's a new interview with Pedro Almodovar about the film, and there's a new programme on director Luis Garcia Berlanga featuring interviews with his son, Jose Luis Berlanga, film critic Carlos B. Hidero, writers Fernando R. Lafuente and Bernardo Sanchez Salas, and director of the Berlanga Film Museum, Rafael Maluenda. And there's a Spanish television programme from 2009 on The Executioner, featuring archive interviews with Berlanga. So that gives you a good base to start from as far as context for the film. And obviously there's a booklet including an essay by David Cairns, who's always good. So this is perhaps one of the lesser known films in the Criterion collection, but really should be bought more in Barnes and Noble sales. And the next two are from Japan and don't really need an introduction. So this is 841, and this is the Lone Wolf and Cub series, 6 films, starring Tomisaburo Wakayama, who's been in so much stuff I'm not really going to tell. This is a Region B. This is a beautiful little set. Lovely little book, which goes into detail on the films. Beautiful artwork, and these are just so much fun. There is arterial spray in gallons. You know, if somebody goes, oh yes, I like a film that's quite bloody, it's like, well, you should sit them down and watch Lone Wolf and Cub, or the Baby Cart series. So 6 films on 3 discs. Because there's arterial spray, like a power washer in these. There's just red groovy everywhere. So this is Sword of Vengeance, Baby Cart the River Styx, which is probably my personal favourite. Baby Cart to Hades, Baby Cart in Peril, Baby Cart in Land of Demons, and White Heaven and Hell, which is the one that takes place mostly in snow. This is just absolutely wonderful. Ito Agami, the character Wakayama plays, as the state executioner. Oh, there's a link between the executioner and the state executioner and Baby Cart. But he inevitably, his wife is murdered and he gets betrayed, and he goes on a revenge rampage through time, which seemingly lasts for eternity, destroying the clan that is responsible, and he gets into hilarious adventures, and there's lots of bloodletting. Great performance by the little boy who plays Diagoro. His son. There's interviews with Kazuki Kyoki, who wrote Lone Wolf and Cub manga series and the screenwriter of 5 of the films. There's a 2005 documentary about the making of the series. There's an interview in which Sensei Yoshimitsu Katsushi discusses and demonstrates the real Soyo-Ru sword techniques that inspired the ones in the manga and films. There's a new interview with biographer Kazuma Nozaza about Kenji Mizumi, director of 4 of the 6 films. There's a silent documentary from 1937 about the making of samurai swords. It's a wonderful series, and because they're all about 85 minutes, something like that, they never outstay their welcome. Even some of the lesser ones, there's always a wonderful set piece, or a fantastic device in the Baby Cart. They never outstay their welcome because they are so short. You can pretty much watch all 6 in a weekend, and it's a beautiful set. I mean, I had these in VHS, and then I had them in DVD, and then I had them in Blu-ray. Obviously in America, the first 2 films were cut together, all the story was cut out, and they just kept all the fighting and blood. It ended up being a video nasty. It was called Shogun Assassin. But then when you actually watch the films, you know, there's lots of character stuff. It's not just all bloodletting. Obviously there's quite a lot of bloodletting, but it's not all bloodletting. And then 842 again doesn't really need an introduction. It's Akira Kurosawa's Dreams from 1990. This is the 4K and Blu-ray. This is a Region A version, but there's now a Region B version of the 4K and Blu-ray. Again, one of Kurosawa's later films. It's episodic, about dreams. It is somewhat flawed, obviously, with an episodic nature of a film. Some episodes are going to be better than the others. You can say the first half is probably better than the second half. But again, when he made this, he was quite old, so I think he can be forgiven for perhaps an unbalanced film, but then it's about dreams, and dreams are fairly unbalanced themselves. Featuring a wonderful performance by Martin Scorsese as Vincent van Gogh, or Vincent van Gogh. Yeah, 8 sequences. Some of them are absolutely stunning, like the cherry orchard, or the orchard, the fox wedding. Some of them are a bit lumpy and obvious, but again, I think we can forgive Kurosawa for that, at least I can. So as I said, this is a 4K and a Blu-ray. There's an audio commentary with Stephen Prince, there's a feature-length documentary from 1990 shot on the set, directed by Nobuko Obayashi. There's interviews with production manager Teruo Nogami and assistant director Takashi Koizumi, and there's a documentary from 2011 by Kurosawa's longtime collaborator, longtime translator Catherine Kadau, featuring interviews with filmmakers Bertolucci, Inarritu, Miyazaki, Scorsese and others, and the booklet has an essay by critic Bill Jabiri, and Kurosawa's script for a never filmed Ninth Dream, introduced by Nogami. So yeah, not superior Kurosawa, but on 4K it does look fairly stunning, and an essential film if you admire Scorsese the actor. So thanks very much for watching this little tiptoe through spine numbers 840, 841 and 842. Please let me know if you have seen these films or you have these criterions, and hopefully you'll join me again for more of my consecutive criterions. I think there's maybe 4 episodes left, if I don't buy any more criterions in that time, which of course I wouldn't do. So thanks so much for watching. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, saying farewell.